Hey, welcome back to Make More Music, the podcast that connects you to music and one another. My name's Chris. I'm a board-certified music therapist, and today on the show, we've got Grant Wilson and Karen Schierhorn of Big Ear Pedals. Yes, and I don't know where you are in the world right now, but man, it's like suddenly feeling like COVID is ending. People are vaccinated and masks are starting to not be so strict everywhere. And I know some places like right across the river in Indiana have been different basically the whole time, but just interesting. Yeah. And things are getting busy. I've been playing at church a lot and I've got other gigs lined up soon, and it's just like coming fast. But enjoying a little bit of the turn to warmer weather, hitting up the pool. So hit me up. Tell me how things are going for you. You can do that on Instagram at make.more.music. Follow any of our links here in the show notes. Get in touch. But check out everything that's going on over there. But today's chat is great. Grant and Karen are a pedal power couple and co-owners and operators of Big Ear Pedals based out of Nashville, Tennessee. They have some great offerings from distortion to modulation, and everything of theirs sells out, and it's all really cool. Go check out their demos. And what's really cool in this is Grant opens up a lot about living and owning a business and operating that with autism. So had some great questions from some of my clinic artists, and you're going to love this chat. Here's Grant and Karen of Big Ear Pedals. Season 3 of Make More Music is brought to you by 3 great sponsors, and I wanted to tell you about them real quick. So I built a guitar, and it is awesome. I have a companion blog post in the show notes that tells you about building a parts caster from concept to creation, and it tells you about the 3 great sponsors I got to work with. First is Parts Caster Concierge. Gary offers a truly concierge experience from build constructions and consultations to unfinished bodies and wooden pedal enclosures, all the way to custom requests and fully custom builds. He offers traditional styles as well as unique, one-of-a-kind DIY experiences with guitars that wouldn't traditionally have a bolt-on neck with a parts caster style build. Second is Porter Pickups. Brian and his team have been winding pickups focused on finding you the right sound and winding with a purpose. Their 5-person shop offers consultation through their online pickup chooser form to help you get closer to the sounds you're looking for. They sound killer. They just launched an entry-level, affordable line called the Gatekeeper, so if you're looking for something to try for the first time, look them up. Our last sponsor is Gun Street Wiring Shop, where they create wiring harnesses for your guitar needs with simple, elegant instructions to help even the first-time solderer like myself get the sound they're looking for. He's not into promoting parts myths, mojo, and magic. He sells circuits, and their customer service is top-notch. From basic upgrades to wild enhancements, Gun Street has got what you need. As I said, all the links are in the show notes, and you'll hear me blab about it more. But if you want more, look there. All right, back to the show. I think it's like Elm right now that's really bad, and y'all are in the same region.
Yeah.
So it's been a rough. This is the first week I've not felt like I had the flu. Basically, as I'm getting older, every year it feels like I get the allergies worse.
Yeah. When we just drove to the store, our car hasn't moved in several days, and so I had to put the windshield washer or wipers on with the washers because it was just like I couldn't even see through it, and like it's just a stream of like thick yellow,
it's so
like
gross
liquid just poured down the side of the car because it's just like
tree pee.
Yeah, just is gross. So
yeah.
Anyway, I'll try not to.
I've been contemplating like, do I need to become one of those people who goes and gets shots? Like, because I know that's a thing, and I'm like, I think that might be me. So if it wasn't for me being so lazy about going to the doctor, I probably would already be doing that. But
yeah, and you got to go weekly, right?
Yeah.
So if you do that, it's a weekly thing, I think.
I think otherwise you're like wasting your time, I think, because it's building the immunity and stuff. So
yeah.
Oh, well,
cool.
Thanks for being here, y'all. I appreciate it. You all aren't too far from me. I think you all are like a good handful of people I've had from Nashville now. So one day when I can go back there, I'm gonna make like a Nashville tour and see people. That'd be fun. But
there's a lot of people. Yeah, there's a lot of pedal people here, a lot of guitar people, amp people. There's so much gear making in this town. It's ridiculous. Like, because we just moved from New York City before, and there's like 5 companies in New York, and there's like 45 companies down here,
which is wild. Yeah. With New York being as big as it is.
Yeah, but nobody can afford to be there.
True.
And so small companies are like, it's hard to start a company and unless you're already wealthy. But most gear people start just being like, touring musicians or people that are off tour and and so it's like you can't live in New York for long. In your first 2-3 years, you're going to be like, I am dying.
Yeah.
I'm struggling.
I think I heard you all talk about that as well. Not only is it expensive, but I'm assuming there's a lot of like regulations and stuff that's not super helpful in New York as well. I think
people probably just disregard all that and don't even care.
Yeah.
New York, right?
Yeah, it's New York. Yeah.
It's New York.
You do your thing. Well, cool. Well, let's hop into a few quick ones. I was wondering first, what's the last track you all listened to, either together or separately?
Last track as in song?
Yeah. What's the last song you were listening to? On your phone or a record?
Today, while I was...
Ooh, no. The last song we were listening
to... Oh, it was in the car.
Was in the car. And it was...
Yeah, I think it was like Arcade Fire or something.
Arcade Fire, Keep the Car Running.
There you go.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
It was just like a playlist. So it was just throwing random songs at us. So I didn't actually even know the name of that song.
On the Lowe's trip. That's good. That's
good.
You all can take this wherever you want to go. You can be kind of plain about it. You can be philosophical about it. You can be super detail oriented. But if you were an instrument, what would you be and why?
If we together were an instrument, or if Karen's an instrument and I'm an instrument.
I really don't like placing rules on people. So
all right.
You want to interpret it is whatever.
So like bongos are kind of cool because like you've got like the bigger bongo and then you've got like the smaller bongo.
Yes.
But you like play them together. They're like one instrument, but it's like 2 separate kind of things.
It's better than I was thinking of like a drum and a stick, but then I'd have to be the stick.
So yeah, bongos. Yeah.
She does. She does hit me a lot. So
I prefer bongos.
She's like, sing.
It depends on the day. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Doesn't have to be music related at all, but what's something that's been inspiring you all recently?
Oh, and I don't know.
Outdoor furniture.
Yeah, let's talk about it. What's good about it? What you like this? You like this new set?
Yeah, we got a brand new set of wicker, 2 chairs, table, and a love seat.
So
and
basically,
it's all black.
Nice.
Very New York.
The thing is that we, we have like a back patio, and we don't have people over that often. So we just had some like fold out chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like benches that for our like little table, but then people will come over and just because we're like distancing and so be like, just unfold a chair. And then Karen informed me that people might like to sit in real chairs. So I was like, well, I guess we got to get patio furniture. So,
but he didn't like anything.
Oh, it's also ugly.
He didn't like anything. So, I just kind of let him look for it, and he found it, and of course, it's all black.
Yeah, well, nice. It's you can. I guess we left New York, but you can't take all of that out of me. I guess.
Yeah, right. Sleek.
It's true.
Yeah, that's good. So y'all do a lot of backyard chilling.
Well, yeah, not even that often actually, but I think we're going to start doing more now because now we have cozy chairs to sit in.
We say that, and then it's going to get really hot.
Yeah,
and then we'll be
fast.
like, "Let's stay inside."
We've just been, like hanging out with our friends over the past year outside. So we just that's when people come over, but we don't have a ton of friends in Nashville, so we've got like 3 or 4 close people.
Cool,
and we all work and do our. Actually, literally all of our friends are own pedal companies.
Very cool.
So we all kind of have crazy schedules and,
Well, my friends say.
manic lifestyles. Not as manic as me, but
Yeah, you're a little manic.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, we already got our sweet pro tip for the mic stand. Do we got any other pro tips or life hacks? You literally gave us a great one. So if that's it, I'll leave, because that is I'm gonna do that one. Sometimes people tell me, and I'm like, yeah, okay. How to make sure you work out? That's good. And I was like, no, I'll use that. The mic stand, that's good.
Tell them about the squats.
oh yeah. Well, I only know Karen has just recently started exercising more, and one thing that I don't know jack shit exercising, right? But like I know, but like I had a friend that was at the time going to school to be a I don't know, personal trainer, some sort of thing like that. Maybe a gym teacher. I'm not sure exactly, but he was learning all about the body,
something fit.
yeah, basically, how to exercise the right ways. And he was always telling me, he's like, man, if you're going to do anything, like you need to do squats, like whatever, like you can do them anywhere. You don't need any weight. Like your body weight is obviously weight. And, but there's all these reasons to do it because like, I guess your legs or the muscles or whatever store testosterone or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's somebody that's listening to your shows that are going to be like, this guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, but supposedly it'll help you to lose more weight and build muscle faster if you squat before you do anything else, like before you do other exercises. It's like it opens up, unlocks something. So since you mentioned talking about exercising, she said I should tell you that, because I just told her that because I was told that 15 years ago, and for some reason I randomly remembered something from 15 years ago when I can't remember things from 15 minutes ago. But
I'm right there with you. That is my brain of just like, I can remember this obscure fact about whatever, and it's like there's Jeopardy stuck inside of my head. But when I need to recall something important, it's like,
where the hell's the remote?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, well, I can tell you this random fact Alex Trebek said in 2008. But so, all right. This is a good one.
I will say
ahead,
this. I tried to do a couple squats just to see, like, just yesterday when we were talking about this.
Yeah.
And those eggs,
shaking her head already.
Those egg shakers?
Yeah.
The little egg. That's what my knees sounded like. It was just like,
yeah,
like it was horrible.
Had a lot of popping.
That's a little scary.
Yeah. I don't know if it gets better. Like if I do that every day, will my knees stop sounding like, or will they like,
or is that signaling you to stop?
Or is it just going to get worse and worse? Is this it for me? I'm creeping on 40. So like, I don't like,
I'm not the right person to ask this question. If you want validation, I can say, yeah, maybe just sit down. Maybe just try those new patio furniture.
Yeah. Just never get up again.
That's a sneaky way around it, right?
I live in a chair now.
What is your go-to junk food?
Oh man.
Ooh. Probably popcorn.
Chips, man. What are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, I am. Yeah. It's the chips.
Recently it's been popcorn for her, but she okay.
Well, I need flavors. What
I can't
flavors
have
are we talking
chips
about
anymore because I eat them all.
It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But every time.
The sour cream and cheddar Ruffles are so good. And they go first at parties every time. They're so good.
Her nickname is chips. Chippy Mountain.
There it is.
Because when she eats chips, she's just covered in them. There's just a mountain. They're just everywhere. Because she eats the whole bag. She'll eat the whole bag, and then it's just like the leftover scragglers are all over her sweatshirt. So Chippy Mountain. How are you going to say popcorn?
I don't know.
What's my junk food?
You like those gross cow tail things?
Oh yeah, but I haven't had every few years.
Man, those things are gross. I didn't know those are one of those candies and like snacks that I didn't know people actually liked.
I when I was a kid, there was a little candy store where like where you go in and like you scoop candy into like plastic bags and
love those
like old school candy stores. And but they had cowtails and I liked them a lot as a kid. And so every now and again I'll have them every few years and it's like a nostalgia thing. But they are kind of gross. I understand.
I'm more for like the meat version, like Slim Jims. I'll eat like 20 Slim Jims.
But see, that's like also like that's not. I love Slim Jims when I used to eat meat, but that's not even meat.
Oh yeah, I mean,
You know?
I don't care about that. It's
Yeah.
Macho Man Randy Savage told me to eat it, so
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like a regular. Do I have a regular? I'm sorry, I'm dragging this one out, huh?
Kit Kats?
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go there.
I don't have a regular junk food.
You like ice cream?
I do like ice cream. It's funny. It's like I'm the fat one, and
You like pizza.
I like pizza, and that's not a junk food, but like it is like
it's so good though.
It's like I eat it when I shouldn't be eating it, like for breakfast, and
it's so good the next day. It is so good.
Well, I'll make a fresh one for breakfast.
Oh, nice. I like because
I'm just like
I love a cold leftover pizza.
Yeah, well, that's good too. I like it at all times, always.
I'm with you right on this.
So that's
probably
my
junk food, but pizza at any time, I'm all in.
We usually do pizza Friday, but then what ends up happening is we also do like pizza Monday and Wednesday and Thursday, and then usually Saturday and Sunday probably.
Yeah, sounds great.
So it happens a lot.
So our cat, Allie, is a dumpster diver, and if you leave pieces of the pizza up there on the counter, she'll eat them.
She's real sneaky about it, but you can't leave anything we've now learned on the counter, especially bread.
She took the rolls.
She just takes the whole loaf and goes running with it in her mouth.
And she's like,
and she's a small little cat, so it looks hilarious because she's like waddling away with this whole loaf of bread in her mouth.
Like as big as her. Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's bigger than her. Yeah, yeah. She's a tiny little thing. But yeah, she'll eat everything. Like when she says dumpster diver, like one time Karen made calamari or whatever. And so when you mix like ketchup and mayonnaise and make like a dipping sauce, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she did that. And then we went to bed and realized that we left the ketchup and the mayonnaise out all night. So the next morning it was all hard. And I was like, I'll just soak it in the sink. And then in an hour or two, I can just wash it out. No problem. Well, in that hour or two of leaving it in the sink, the cat got up in the sink and drank it all out. Dry, hardened mayonnaise ketchup mixture with warm water that might have had soap in it. I'm not sure, but she is a disgusting little thing.
Well, we have a 10-month-old right now, and which my Basset Hound is currently living her best life because we took her to the vet recently, and I was like, she's like always 50 plus or minus 2 pounds basically. And right now she's 54 because, there's a baby and she eats lots of food off of the floor. So she's,
I didn't even understand that at first.
She's running a little extra thick. I don't know how like people don't have pets with babies. It's like, makes
sense.
Babies are disgusting. Dogs and cats don't care and they eat it. Like
and they'll clean up all the mess.
Yeah. Like it's symbiotic. Like,
this is true.
This is true.
We should get a dog
someday.
There you go. I'm all in.
Love a dog. Yeah.
I've got a Basset Hound and a lab. So, lastly, this could be anyone, music related or not, person, project, a company, somebody that you think is doing cool work that deserves a shout out. They don't have to feel bad that you didn't. I know you've got like hundreds of people you could say, but somebody that's on your mind they're doing something cool.
Let's call out AWOL.
Yeah, one of our. If we both have a choice, you can do AWOL and then, or do we can only have one? Is this again where we're one instrument like the bongos?
You choose. I don't care.
Well, definitely AWOL. AWOL pedals, close friend of ours.
Sweet.
Close friend of Big Ear. Nashville-based pedal maker.
Very cool.
Shout out to AWOL. And yeah, I don't want to think about.
That sounds great. That sounds good.
It'll take me too long to come up with because I have a lot of people that I love and think are doing really cool things. So
I know
so near and dear to our hearts.
I've asked a lot of people recently. I was like, I maybe need to even just stop asking that because I feel like it's like pick your best friend on something that's going to be recorded on the internet. It's like maybe I should take that hot seat off of people. So, So,
you know what? I will have one other one. I will say one other one.
Let's hear it.
Eric Marrow, who is a YouTuber.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been talking to him a lot lately. He's helping me out with some things and has helped us out with a bunch of things in the past.
Nice.
A handful of videos that we've put out he's had his hands on. And I really like, he's just started doing a podcast that's the Pedal Demo podcast.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is basically he talks with, a representative from a pedal company about a product, about one specific pedal. And then he demos that pedal and kind of talks through it and explains what it all does and how it works and gets some of the backstory from the representative from the brand.
Yeah.
And it's such a cool idea. So
it's kind of amazing that didn't already exist.
Yeah. So I thought that's worthy of a shout out as well. So Eric Marrow and the Pedal Demo
just
podcast.
Getting off its legs. Yeah. So that's awesome. Well, before you all were the dynamic duo here in Nashville, making these wonderful pedals, gracing the world with your all's humor. And I think just being like, just another kind of, for me as someone who is coming into this world, someone that I can look at as like, they are the vibe that I think helps that kind of, what am I trying to say? You all are the vibe of the type of people that I think make the whole gear industry like seem a little bit warmer, a little bit happier, a little bit better. And I love that about just your all's presence. So I want to know, before that though, when you think back to being a young child, what were some of your all's first musical memories that you were associating with? What were you hearing? Who were some of your influences? What were maybe your parents listening to? Things like that when you were growing up.
So this is a weird one, not necessarily a happy, positive memory, but when my first memory of, well, I guess, okay, I have two and I don't know which came first, but I do have a happy one. And I think the happy one would be dancing around in the basement with my dad and my sisters, listening to I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Nice.
By the Beatles, obviously. And then the other one, which is a really weird one that I've always remembered, in the front TV room, which later became my bedroom, I just have this weird memory of Herman's Hermits. I think the song's called End of the World.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a lot of people have done that song, but I was under a blanket, laying in front of the heater, listening to that song and just crying my eyes out. And I don't know if it was just because I was listening to the words and I was realizing what it was and what it meant, and that there was sadness in it. And I don't know. I truthfully don't remember why, but I just remember that moment.
That flash.
And so that's one of my first things. But the thing is, still to this day, music just makes me cry. Like I hear beautiful strings and like something just overwhelming, just takes me there,
Yeah.
And so that's one of my first musical memories, I guess.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Karen?
I think my dad and I also did the same thing where we jumped around to I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. Also, Simon and Garfunkel.
Nice. Just a lot of that around the house and stuff growing up.
Yeah, and I remember the tape player in the car.
Very
Specifically. There was the Simon and Garfunkel tape that I would get out and put in and listen to.
I definitely miss those feelings of like a cassette and it being hard to skip songs. And the one I wore out was the when that Hercules Disney movie came out. They gave it away at McDonald's before the movie came out. So I listened to that soundtrack like a bajillion times before the movie came out. So Hercules is still, I think, my favorite Disney movie. It's like that gospel soundtrack. And something about that medium for sure. You haven't seen it?
Yeah, I haven't seen it. It's like
it's pretty funny. Like it's got,
yeah.
And I think I mean, it's definitely, I think, on Disney Plus, I believe. So
Cool.
One of
I'll
my
check it
first,
out.
not one of my first, but my first ever cassette that was mine, came also from a restaurant. And it was also a movie cassette, and it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shells, which was from Pizza Hut, probably in like 1989, maybe.
That is super cool.
I'm gonna say
cool first cassette.
maybe. I wore that thing out. So
Yeah.
that was my jam.
I wore out the VHS of the first movie until it was not able to be played anymore. So yeah, classic. So as y'all are growing up, I just listened to your episode, Karen, with Hillary recently. So as you all were growing up, what was like music's influence on you all? I know, Grant, you grew up playing in bands and things like that, but where did kind of that bug hit you all? And I know, Karen, you said you like kind of ended up here doing this crazy music thing through your all's relationship and stuff. So what does that look like as you kind of all the dots along the way that got you all to Big Ear?
Well, I think that just in general, music has always been really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've always enjoyed going to see shows and being one of the people on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it was that's a tough one.
So what are your favorite like memories growing up and a few favorite shows?
Maybe like The Sound of Music.
Nice.
Yeah, I got really into The Sound of Music. I was really, really, really into U2. The Joshua Tree. I wore that cassette out.
That's good.
But I always remembered my mom would always turn my music off and tell me that it was like annoying to her.
But listen to that dotted eighth delay, Mom. It's great. That's good. So what, just like a quick synopsis, in your life before you and Grant met, you said this crazy story about, I heard you talking about like working with a brand related to Tommy Hilfiger. Is that right?
Oh yeah. So, and
your background is in fashion.
So my background is in fashion. I was working with Tommy and Andy Hilfiger, doing a rock and roll inspired clothing line for juniors in Macy's.
Mm-hmm.
And that was everything music. We basically developed proto lines for like prototype lines for different musicians. So like we were approaching Debbie Harry. We were approaching Justin Bieber. We did a Justin Bieber line and it went all the way to production. And then it like something happened, but it just didn't work out. But yeah, I met Grant. I didn't really know who he was. He was in a band called the Click Clack Boom, and his manager was Andy Hilfiger. So he would do odd jobs for Andy at the place where I would work, which was actually Trump Towers. And he would come in and say hi.
Yeah.
And he would call me his manager, who also worked with Andy. And
so we were on, sorry to interrupt. We were on Andy Hilfiger Entertainment, but our day-to-day manager was a guy named Luke Watson. So we actually kind of had two managers.
Sorry.
But.
So he would call him and say like, "Hey, how's my future wife?"
No, I just
I like it. Bold.
I didn't know this. So, and then we did, I don't know, but I don't want to redo the same thing, but we did a we hosted or co-hosted the Rachel Ray feedback event.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was like 2013 maybe or something.
Yeah, I don't know. 12.
Yeah, 2012 maybe.
Yeah.
And Grant and his band were playing, and they were the band for our clothing line. They represented our clothing line.
Brand ambassadors, whatever you want to call it.
And so he kind of like cornered me a little bit and said, "Hey," he's like, "Did you know that I call you my future wife?"
I didn't say, do you know?
Oh yeah.
I said, I assume you already know this because I felt like she was kind of letting me know that she knew. And then she was like, what?
Oh, well, that's the thing. So,
and then I think I scared the hell out of her.
And I remember I was fitting you for a very spiky leather jacket.
They were doing like these silly photo shoots with like vintage rock and roll clothes, like literal like jackets that were previously belonged to like Mick Jagger and like, like crazy like, punk rockers and just all these
like Hard Rock Hall of Fame.
Like it was stuff from Andy's personal collection and stuff that Tommy, over the years has acquired. And, some of these were like coats that like Keith Richards wore on stage and stuff. And
that is wild.
Cause they're big Rolling Stones fans and sponsored some tours and things, but, yeah. So you were fitting me for that. I'm sorry.
So yeah, you said, that you assumed that I knew. Yeah. And I said, no, I did not. And then, I think I tried to get away from you.
Look how well it worked.
But we started talking and hanging out. Afterwards, we went to a bar where people were playing darts, and Grant was not playing darts because he hates games. And
I don't play games.
And he was going through his bag, and I'm like, oh, so you're going through your purse, I see. And
I carried a carry-all, a European carry-all, if you know that reference.
Friends? Is that Friends?
Yeah.
Or
Joey?
Seinfeld.
Oh. Seinfeld, yeah.
Oh, it's like Joey has it.
Oh, Joey has a purse. Too. A man bag.
Yeah.
But he was showing me all the things that he had, and he's like, oh, I'm MacGyver. I have everything. And
when you're on tour, man, you got to have all the random, the most random shit.
You did have random shit in your bag.
Yeah.
But I happen to have toilet paper to go.
Like a roll of toilet paper in a plastic container that you throw in your bag. Because we're at South by Southwest, and you know what it's like when you're at a festival and there's no TP in the thing,
Yeah. So
that's gold. Yeah, that's gold.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I gave him my toilet paper.
She was leaving the next day, and so she, and I still have it in my bag to this day.
Oh, that is so sweet.
He keeps refilling it.
Yeah, it has served.
It's not 2013 vintage.
No,
it's just the holder. Okay,
no,
it's like a coin purse. Okay,
that would just fall apart.
Ew! But you know what is vintage is that beer that you had in the fridge.
Oh my goodness. So then, okay, so this all started, this story. I used to be a drunk. I am going on 10 years sober now.
Congrats.
Thank you. But that specific night, Blue Moon was the sponsor of the event. And so I just, and they're like water. So you can just drink like a lot of them. And so I did drink a lot of them, and then that's why I had the courage to, be super creepy with her. But anyway, no. So then I, decided, and this is actually right prior to Big Ear, that I wanted to get sober, and I wanted to use that time because there's a lot of time that you spend drinking and recovering from drinking.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to be more productive. I want to do something and start something. And but at the time, for whatever reason, we had some Old Milwaukee beer in the fridge, which is like, I don't know why I even had Old Milwaukee. I'm not dissing on you if you drink Old Milwaukee. It just wasn't my vibe. But for some reason I had it. I don't know if it was just what the deli had. And so I bought it. But anyway, there was one left. And instead of doing that whole like, oh, well, I'll just have this one last one. I was like, no, I'm done. No more drinking. I'm done. January.
Good thing it was Old Milwaukee then.
Oh yeah. We actually met before 2012 because I quit drinking January 6, 2012. So we met in
maybe
2011. Yeah.
We've been together for a very long time. I don't know.
So anyway, I said, I'm done. And then I kept that Old Milwaukee in the fridge as a like a trophy.
Yeah,
it was a weird trophy to have, but like I was like, this is the beer that I did not drink, and I'm obviously not going to drink.
Yeah.
And then because as every day it gets like it's an older Milwaukee, and it became a very old Milwaukee because it was in our fridge for 8 years or so.
Wow.
And then we moved to Tennessee, and I brought it with us, and I packed it. And I was like, that's going to go to the new house and we're going to keep that. Well, at one point we had some friends over, a touring band that came through town. And we, we asked them, you guys want some drinks? Like we'll go and pick up some beers for you. And, we bought some beers, but they didn't end up drinking any of them. And so, I think the beers might have been the same color as the Old Milwaukee. I'm not sure what happened, but somehow the Old Milwaukee was gone. And I looked in the fridge the one day.
Drinking.
What's up?
I was the only one drinking.
And Karen was the only person that had drank any beers. So,
and I drank a lot of them because no one was drinking them.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll drink them because they're here. And this was before I stopped drinking.
And so long story short, someone drank the Old Milwaukee. And the only person that was drinking was Karen. So.
And by the end of the night, I really wouldn't have known if I drank it or not.
So I think she drank like a 9-year-old, like an old Milwaukee.
That has transitioned in hot weather across states. But does it become better is the question.
Was it finer? Yeah, it was a finer.
Yeah.
Did it age over time?
Is that the new like boutique beer? Like,
yeah. But could you imagine someone pulling out like if we could have kept that for like 20 years? Be like, if we have to have a kid someday and be like, well, you're 21 now. Here you go.
This is my 11 Old Milwaukee.
I've saved this for 31 years for you.
Oh, wow. That would be special.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. And you can't let your dad down. You got to drink it,
Oh man. So growing up, Grant, playing instruments and things like that, how do you get to the point where you're doing these tours and crazy events with Andy Hilfiger? Like, what are the steps before that?
So, my family used to vacation on Keuka Lake in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes. And when I was a kid, for whatever reason, I had apparently more confidence than I do now because we were bored and, we're kids at the lake. I mean, I might've been 13. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And the neighbors 2 houses over were having a party and they were like shooting off fireworks. And so we're like, well, let's just go see if we can like go hang out at their party. And so just like went and knocked on the door. And the guy that opened the door was like, what the hell? What do you know anyone? Do you know anyone here? And we're like, we know the neighbors. Like JR and they're like, oh, JR, come on in. And I was like, yeah, because we vacation in the same house every year. So we knew like the people, but we just didn't know these people were 2 houses over. So they let us in. We, go around back. They're shooting off fireworks. They're making hot dogs and whatever. And they're drinking because they're older, but we're kids. So maybe I was 14, but whatever. And they tell me, hey, our nephew Michael is out on the boat, but he's going to be back. They're going to be back in 10 or 15 minutes, and then he's going to do a concert for everybody. And the Michael that they were speaking about is a guy named Michael Frito. And Michael Frito was at that time, he was on tour with Britney Spears. He was opening for Britney Spears on her like Baby One More Time tour. So like massive tour to be the opening act on. And this was, they were on a break for that tour. So he was at the lake house visiting his family. And this was exciting to me. I'm a young musician and I was like, cool, I'll get to meet, a guy that's really doing it. Right.
Yeah.
And so he came in after, 15 minutes, they came off the lake and set up to do a little concert in the basement there. He and his brother played. His brother, they both had Ovation guitars, an Ovation, acoustic. And then his brother had an Ovation bass. And which is funny, I now have an Ovation bass, but they played some songs, and then I, again, had whatever courage, I don't know where it came from, to be like, hey, man, want to jam? And he's like, yeah. So he gave me the bass, and then we just like played, like randomly, like jammed and wrote some songs. And then, and he was just loving it. Like he was really getting into it. And then his brother came back down, and he took the bass back, and then Mike gave me upside down coffee can. And was like, cause I told him that I also was a drummer and whatever. So so I jammed, I literally played it like it was a bongo and jammed, and we played for like 30 minutes. And afterwards he was like, man, you're a really good musician. He's like, here's my number. Here's like my email and all my info. And like, if you ever come to New York City, he's like, you got a friend in New York. So, it turns out this guy is Tommy Hilfiger's nephew. So, we became very good friends. And, when I'm like 16, my high school drama club goes to New York City to see Les Miserables. And we get like an hour to like go and do things. Cause this was 2001 and they probably still let kids do stuff like that. And, like just walk around New York by yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you had to have one person with you. So me and my friend Ryan ran down to Mike's apartment and hung out, played some music, and
that's wild.
Yeah. And just, and I got to know him better there. And I mean, we became very close friends. He was like to the point where he called my parents' house in the middle of the night because he was terrified that his one of his lizards was dying. But as it turns out, the lizard just like turns gray and sheds its skin, but he just didn't know this. And he was like
molting.
Yeah. And he like loved this lizard so much. And he's like crying about how much he loves this. It's like, this is my friend. And it's a beautiful lizard. And I was like, yeah, man. Like,
I'm sorry.
I don't know what to tell you. So I like go and I look it up on online, and I'm like, no, you're good. You're good. And he's like, oh, thank God. And he's a very sweet guy. And I'm very sensitive. Like, so I would, if it was my animal, I'd probably be doing the same thing. So I'm not making fun in any way. But he ultimately, being my first friend from New York City, introduced me to all these people, his family, and who ended up becoming our day-to-day manager. Luke Watson, who was originally from my neck of the woods, started working for Mike. And then he started working for Andy when they still worked for Tommy Hilfiger. And that's whenever we first met Andy. Our first show in New York was at the Hilfiger Sessions, which was at Terminal 5 in Manhattan. And
wow.
And so it was wild. Yeah, like first show in New York, Terminal 5. And
that's wild.
I just remembered this, but Andy kind of got mad at me. That was the first time I'd really spent any serious amount of time with him. And I showed up with a 40, and like, it was this like kind of like very prestigious thing. And like, I'm like drinking a 40 in the back, and he's like, dude, they have drinks here. What are you doing? Like, go to the bar, get a drink. And I'm just like pounding this 40.
I got my brown paper bag.
I'm saying there's a reason I quit drinking. I was a drunk. So, but that was a really fun show. And then, that relationship just kept getting better and better. And we did a lot of fun things with them. The tour that I met her on, we were actually, and it's funny because she talked about this in the midriff podcast, and she made it sound as if we just did this tour, but we were on a tour of Macy's around America because the clothing line that she worked for and that we were representing was the face of the line was Steven Tyler. And so it was like a rock and roll inspired fashion line. And so they had these meet and greets at various cities around the country with like fashion shows. So they'd do a fashion show and then we would play and then there'd be a signing and Steven Tyler came to, I think 2 or 3 of the events, and there were maybe like 10 events total. So he didn't come to all of them. But I only wanted to touch on that because that was one of like dozens of tours, but like
that's wild. Yeah.
we would, I mean, we'd play a lot, but she, in that talk said I was in the band that toured Macy's. I definitely did a lot more like shitty tours. I will say that
a real band.
Yeah.
You were doing it,
but we paid our dues. I just wanted to.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, along the way, it sounds like, was Big Ear really a part of your kind of sobriety and recovery story right from the beginning, or at what point did you start to get that bug to, I don't know if it was modifying things first or, how did you kind of dive into that?
Well, I kind of didn't. So, I didn't start building pedals until about 2 years ago. I've owned a guitar pedal company, or we have co-owned a guitar pedal company for about 7-8 years now. Cool. But for the first several years, I hired people to do all of that stuff.
Nice.
And because I wanted to like make really good pedals right away, and instead of like, learning how to do it, but
muddling through. Yeah.
And so I kind of just hired people and went from there. But eventually that did become a problem just for speed. And also I think, the story is really important and people do care more about, for whatever reason, if the owner is doing it or it's like, it's more
some kind of weird, like American dream.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's entirely necessary. Cause like, I feel like I've said this before, but like, what's his name? Richard Branson. Is that the guy's name? Uh-huh. Like, it's not like he's like designing the airplanes, or it's not like he's mixing records or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't think you have to, like, you can own a restaurant and not be the chef, but people really get excited about it when you are.
For some reason. Yeah. That is interesting.
So I thought that was definitely a good reason to do it. So take control of that story, but also because when you are far away from it, because the last shop that we worked with was in California, very close friend of ours, Chuck Bennett of Chuck Pedals, built our pedals for a few years. And the problem is that I couldn't get any pictures or videos. And unless I was asking him to do it, which is an inconvenience, because if he's working, it's like asking him like, hey, set up a tripod and do, you know what I mean? Like it's just not reasonable. Whereas if he was here and I could just document it and get that kind of stuff, it would really help. And because we're in a world where sharing posts about what you're doing frequently is one way to make people not forget about you. And so I wanted to take more control of that as well. So,
well, one thing I really love is your outspoken advocacy for the autism community and kind of walking through some myth busting and some like, here's what it's like day to day. So, I really like the vulnerability that I've seen in a lot of your posts of like, I was going to post and then I didn't, and I went into the tailspin and things like that. So, from your perspective, what kind of gave you the idea to even start doing some of these posts? Like you said, because you just talked about like, we live in a world that people want to know what's going on, but what was going through your head the first time you started deciding to say like, I'm going to talk about this?
I think it was Karen's idea.
Yeah, we were driving.
And And actually, it was her idea to do it for 10 days, I think.
I was going to say, I think I challenged you to do it for 10 days and you were kind of mad at me.
Well, it was hard. The first year, it was really hard. 10 days in a row.
You were like, why didn't you say 5?
Because now it's 10 and now I've got to do it.
Yeah, I'm not a writer. I barely graduated high school. So you're
a great writer. I don't know what you're talking about.
Every time I write anything, I have to show it to Karen like 18 times and be like, would you look at this? Should I put an exclamation point here at the end or a period? Or should I put 2 exclamation points? Does that look too happy? Is that too, okay. What if I just put an exclamation point and a smiley face? Does that look cheesy? Oh no. Okay. I won't do that. That's literally what it's like when I'm writing. So, I'm not that, I feel like I'm not that good at it, but, 10 days was hard. And I think the reason for doing it though, is because we realized, I want to say 5, 6, 7, maybe years ago. It was fairly recent in my life as being a person, on the spectrum, whatever, that kind of full disclosure is kind of like one of the best things that we can do when we like dealing with other people, especially like I go into a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress is like, sometimes they're not cranky, but they have a lot of tables. There's a lot of stuff going on and they're busy. Sure. And these people are like, trying to remember a lot of things. And I'm sitting there struggling with the menu. And sometimes they're getting a little irritated with me, because I'm messing with the flow of things and they're in a busy environment and they you know what I mean? And so, and so I never want to make people mad or offend people. And so we started telling people like, oh, very sorry. And the thing is now I'm supposed to say autism, ASD. At that time it was, my diagnosis is Asperger's. So, we would just tell people, I have Asperger's. I have a hard time with menus. I've never been here before, so I might ask you some questions if that's okay. I apologize. If you don't have time, don't worry about it. Come back whenever you can. I'll wait. No big deal. Like, just so there's like no weirdness and and then you'll just notice
disclosing on the front end like that.
And then people be so sweet and understanding and be like, oh, take your time, my dude. Like, I'm here for you, whatever you need. You know what I mean? And then it changes that, whole, experience.
Yeah.
So then it kind of turned into, well, I had been doing social media for our business for several years and kind of grew, somewhat sizable following for a very small company, I think. And it just made sense to kind of, again, this was Karen's idea, but I was okay to do it because I was like, that is probably the best thing that I could be doing with this, rather than constantly being like, hey, here's another pedal you can buy. Check this pedal out. Have you seen this pedal? Sure. Did you know we make pedals?
Yeah.
So and in fact, the very first day of the post series that I did, if anybody wants to see these, if you hashtag or look up on Instagram, hashtag autism looks different than you think. The first post, I did get some haters and I got some weird stuff. People were saying that they're like, you're disgusting. You're using this disability to market your product. I was like, no, dickhead. I'm using this, opportunity that I have, to reach people to do a positive thing. And how are you going to be crusty about that? You know what I mean?
Jeez.
And there was just a few people, but as I went on, it kind of petered out. And then everybody was like, no, this is good. And people got diagnoses as a result of my series. People, every year, someone will message me and tell me their story. They either, had a diagnosis, but didn't want to tell people. They were embarrassed to tell their friends and family. And now they're talking about it because they felt inspired to open up. Or I have had multiple people tell me, I think 3 people that actually got a diagnosis as a result.
That's wild.
Of going, wow, I am that exact same way. I did not know that that's what this is. So like that might have changed those people's lives, because I know that me getting a diagnosis was probably the best thing that ever happened, because it gave me the ability to work with a behavioral support specialist. It gave me an understanding of myself and why I was the way that I was. It answered a lot of those things, so I didn't have to hate myself and feel so down about myself. And I mean, it's just a remarkably positive thing. So yeah, so those people, you know, they off basically.
Yeah. That's good. I'm wondering, you hinted at something that I think a lot of people might not know about, but me as a music therapist, I'm aware of too, is the descriptions and things of the way that we call it, it's been different things over the years, and the DSM-5 changed things up. So what do you make of like you said, you're like, I don't know, ASD, autism, Asperger's. So how does that play into your life? What do you make of the differences and the splitting of the hairs like that?
There's so much, people, okay, especially among people that have Asperger's, whether you call it that or not anymore, especially among these individuals, we went to a I think it was just an Asperger's group in New York City.
Yeah.
And we are all wildly different people. Mm-hmm. Everybody is just like, whether you're on the spectrum or not, we're all wildly different.
That was the most chaotic meeting I have ever been
to. But
it's
definitely life. It can be chaotic. And so there's a lot of people that have very strong thoughts or opinions about certain things, maybe.
Yeah.
Some people get very obsessed with specific things and can't let things go. And that's very common, to not be able to drop things. And so, it's right now there's like a heated debate on like, are you an autistic person or are you a person with autism?
Yeah. The person first language stuff.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I apparently piss people off because I'm autistic. Like, I'm not a person that has autism because I don't have it. It's not like I have this bottle right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am autistic.
Sure.
And I tell Karen this, even on my best days, I'm autistic. On my good days, on my great days, I'm autistic. On my bad days, I'm autistic. And that's, people only think you're autistic when you're having a meltdown. People only think you're autistic whenever you're having a communication, breakdown, or you get stuck in a loop, or, whatever. That's he's autistic. He's acting autistic. No, man, I'm autistic when I'm kicking. I'm autistic when I'm doing the best. I'm autistic when I'm, like on my A game. That's autistic because it's everything. It encompasses my whole being. I am an autistic person. So that's one thing that I know people don't like. Also there's Autism Speaks, and people have a lot of opinions, there's all kinds, and I understand both sides, but saying ASD, I get it. I understand. But to me, I was diagnosed as having Asperger's. I'm an Aspie. That's like, the thing. And so it's hard for me to break from that. And also when I tell people I'm autistic, they're like, because there's such a lack of understanding, people are like, well, you don't look autistic. It's like, what does it look like? What, you know what I mean? Like, well, you don't sound autistic. It's like, what the does that mean? Like, like,
what do you want me to sound like?
Yeah, exactly. Like, let me talk your ear off for 45 minutes about nothing that you care about. And then you'll be like, oh, wait, I think maybe that guy's autistic. So there's that whole thing. So I probably piss people off when I say I have Asperger's. But I mean well, and I want people to understand that this is what one person's experience with it looks like, Yeah.
And that's the case. I think working with a lot of different people with autism or autistic people, either way, whatever you say about it, you realize that is the most important thing, is that just like you said, anybody else, every single person experiences these things so differently. So that rolls right into a couple of questions that I have. I call them my clinic artists. I don't like using the term like client or patient. So one of my clinic artists has autism or is autistic, and he has a couple of serious questions for you. And let's start with the one that I feel like perfectly describes why I don't think this way. And he said, what does an autism think is weird?
What does an autism think is weird?
That he wants to personify and ask you, what does autism think is weird?
Huh.
So I don't know where you want to spin that or if you want to answer that, but we can go on if that's not something that even makes sense.
Think is weird.
That was his first. He went right there. And I was like, okay, I'll write it down.
I think would be when things work out and like a machine that everything just like falls in place and does its job and it works. And then at the end, it was like, exactly, what did you expect to have happen? That's weird because I feel like autism is always finding the things that are wrong or broken or need to be fixed or where there's a weak link, you know? I was just furious with Verizon, yesterday on the phone. And then when they send you, cause you know, you have to deal with them and then they send you a text message and say,
rate your service.
How was rate your service? And then you like explain why. And I literally said in my message, you guys need to hire an autistic person like that can come in and, you know, fix this because it is stupid. It is stupid that you do not understand this problem. And here's the thing. This is, I guess let me just explain what it was because I have a problem with scheduling things and like I today forgot I had a doctor's appointment. I just forget things, and Karen does a really great job of helping most times, but sometimes I won't tell her if I have an appointment, or sometimes I'll like forget, and so then I forget. And so anyway, with my cell phone, I am just terrible at remembering to pay my bill. And they send you text messages whenever it's time to pay. But if I'm in the middle of doing something, it's like my memory is so bad that it's just gone. Like I don't remember it. And so I want them to let me pay for the year. So I just don't have to worry about it, but they will only let you pay up to $500. And so then the girl was like, no, actually, I think we can do 2 payments and you can pay for 6 months. And so only the first 500 went through, and then the second one did not. And then she's like, I'll transfer you to this other department. And I ended up being on the phone for an hour, just trying to prevent myself
to give them money
because I just don't want my phone to get turned off at random times. And then of course you do like get like a fee on top. So it actually would save me money in the end, but I don't want to deal with it because here's the thing is that I don't use the app. I can't use the app. I don't understand how to use the app. I'm terrible with computers. I'm terrible with a lot of technology. The apps that I have to use for social media, I know them very well. And so I know how to use those things and I feel confident there, but I'm like an old man with this stuff. And so, I don't keep my cards stored on anything. Nobody has, you know, like I don't have recurring payments because I don't want any numbers saved anywhere because I'm really paranoid about everything. And so this just poses all these problems. So I was like, so can we just pay you up front and I just don't have to worry about it. And then you'll call me in a year and like, and they can't do that for some reason. And so anyway, I got mad and said that they need to hire an autistic person.
That's good. Well, a couple other questions he had was thinking about, you know, your all's role. And like you said, you do a lot of things on social media. You're on a podcast with a stranger right now and things like that. How do you cope with those times that are just not jiving with you when you're, I think you posted about it recently, like when you're in a tailspin, when you're doing something that is just terribly uncomfortable. What does that look like for you? And maybe my follow-up was like, what do you wish some of your colleagues knew?
I shut down and don't do anything for a couple of days.
He literally goes to sleep. Like his brain will just turn off and it's like he's completely dead to the world until he feels able to get up again.
Yeah. And then, and also you'll notice it if you follow our social media accounts, when I don't post for 3 or 4 days. And then other days I'm like, I'm feeling great. I'm going to post 3 times, 4 times. But those, that ebb and flow is a direct result of me getting overwhelmed sometimes. It's never that I don't have anything to post or say. It's that I can't. And I might do work, but I do it in weird. We work from home. We own our own business. We work for ourselves. So I can, if I wake up and it's 3 a.m., I'm going to work till 7, 8, 9 a.m. and then I might go take a nap for an hour or two and then wake up and do more work. Like I just work at random hours and because it's not noisy to solder and make pedals. So I kind of just like become this weirdo person that doesn't have any sort of schedule and kind of avoids the outside world, I guess. So that's what happens.
From your perspective too, Karen, as a partner that in all kinds of ways, what do you wish some of your all's colleagues or maybe even some of the people that are buying your pedals and your all's customer base and fan base, what are some things that you all wish they knew from your perspective too?
I would say that they like us because we're honest. And Grant is autistic. So there are going to be those times that things might take longer just because he needed the time or, just it's more about the time. I feel like with Amazon culture, everybody needs their package tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we always have a lead time and we'll say what our lead time is. But frequently, when Grant gets a lot of, if he gets a lot of things orders at once, it's overwhelming to him, and so he'll shut down for a day or two, and then that just prolongs the whole event of building the pedals, and so he then becomes slower while doing it. Like every movement is a little bit slower. Affects your motor skills and
like the anxiety
of it. And so I think that it just to remember that, we're 2 people, just 2. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, I mean, most people are really, really cool about it when I tell them. But I definitely I definitely get anxiety though when I hear the email ping. We were just talking about this earlier. I like clench up.
Well, we've stopped that from now on. We are only listing pedals for sale that are built. When we launched our last pedal, Albie, we didn't really know what to expect. And then it we sold out of all the pedals.
It's been a huge success. Yeah.
And it's been great. But then we were like, well, people still want it. So let's just open it up as like a pre-order and have a lead time. And then it just was really overwhelming because there was, like she said, more orders than I'd ever experienced.
And a lot of people didn't read the description where it does say that there is a lead time.
How long the lead time is. And
it's coronavirus and people are stressed about their own lives and taking out. I mean, you've seen it all over. I was just talking with Joel this week and it's like people getting so angry at someone for like a guitar pedal taking a long time or selling out. It's like,
I love
yikes.
I love that the pedal community is so like tight knit that you can literally just say, I was talking to Joel, and it's like, everybody, we all know who you're talking about.
Exactly. Right.
It's like, we're all friends, and they actually Chase listed our NAMM booth a couple years in a row, where we all shared one booth together, like a big communal thing. Cause it is like, we all, we're all,
in it together.
Yeah. We're all like friends. I don't know if you saw the thing that we did, right when the quarantine first started last year, but we did a song
classic.
Yeah. Had all the pedal companies that, well, not all, but like 15 of us got together and Joel was one of them. It was kind of fantastic.
And you headed that up?
Eric Marrow edited it.
Oh, I headed that up.
Oh yeah. I like chopped up a YouTube video into little sections and sent everybody a section. And was like, hey, would you just sing this line for me and send it back to me?
So did they not even know what was happening?
No, I told them. I
was like, that would be even better if you just sent them the segment and they did it.
It was like us. We were mocking or doing a what's the word? A parody of the Gal Gadot Imagine video that was very poorly received. So we did all by myself.
We'll link to that, and we'll link to we hit on that mid-riff podcast, and y'all have been on a lot, so we'll link to a lot of your all's stuff. But you kind of mentioned this earlier that I think is really important, right? You said, people can feel however they want to feel about it, but I'm autistic at my highs and I'm autistic at my lows. So I wanted to ask as well, what are some of the unique pathways and kind of like, especially when you look at maybe some of you've got all these pedal friends, some around you, some around the US and stuff, some around the world. What do you see that you're able to do differently? Because, your mind processes things differently. What is it that about, autism that kicks ass in this scenario?
So when, I talked about this a little bit in my series, but comorbid conditions, whatever, when you're on the spectrum,
sure.
One of those things for me is I'm extremely OCD. To the point that I'm incredibly slow when I build pedals because everything has to be neat and tidy and look a certain way. And the input and output jacks, the wire that like comes down and like on each side, there's a longer wire and a shorter wire. And the longer one has to have the exact same curve on each side. And it can't be off it can't even be a little lower on one side or the other. They got to be identical on each side. It's like a mirror image thing. Mm-hmm. And so, and the thing is that I get irritated sometimes because I feel like nobody even notices these things. Nobody sees them. Nobody cares. Why do I spend so much time? Like, for example, a foot switch washer, and this might now bug you now that I'm going to point this out. But so the foot switch, not washer, the nut on a foot switch. I always, there might be a few out there that I couldn't, and that I was just like, screw this, man. But, I always make sure that the top of the nut is flat. Not just like, I don't want the nut to be just kind of in some random position. If I can't get it flat, and which, I mean, you could always just take it off and then adjust the inside washer or nut and then put it on again. And I do that, but I won't do it more than 3 times. If I've done it 3 times, it's going to get where it's going to get. If I can't get it to be flat on top, I will have it be at a point where the point of the nut is pointing up in the center of the pedal straight up.
Yeah.
But the nut,
this or pointed.
Yes. The nut will never be just randomly at some strange angle on one of our pedals. If the foot switch is like that, then somebody
has messed
with it. Yeah. I don't know why somebody would, but it's stuff like that I put in that extra effort that, again, I don't think anybody knows about or cares about. And I like, there's so many little things that like I can't break away from. Like, we write a thank you card to every single person that buys a pedal, and even dealer orders. I'll just write a generic like, hey, as opposed to like if somebody actually buys it from our site and I know their name is Carl, I'm going to say, hey, Carl, and then thank you so much. And actually write a note to each person. And I can't stop doing that. And I want to, I don't want to, but I want to. It's getting to the point where it's taking up a lot of time when we have bigger runs. And I realized I timed it. And then I figured how all the pedals we've made so far, I've spent, what's the word? Like an aggregate or whatever. I've spent a week, a solid work week, 40 hours of just writing thank you cards since I've started Big Ear.
That's wild.
So it takes time, but I can't break away from it because I'm an autistic dude that has OCD, and I can't drop things, and everything has to be the same.
Well, not only does it take time, it takes resources because he's so OCD about it. He'll start one and then he won't like the way it looks on the page, and then he'll tear it up.
Yeah, I waste a lot.
And then he'll grab another one.
Yeah, I'll write a thank you card sometimes 3 or 4 times to get it right.
Yeah,
it takes so long. Yeah, because I want everybody to have this wonderful experience. I want people to if you're spending $200 on a pedal, which I know from being when I was a touring musician that was living off dollar menu, $200 is a lot of money to a lot of musicians, and I want you to feel happy and special, and I want you to love it. You know what I mean? And so every little thing matters to me. Every single little thing matters to me. And I'm not saying that it doesn't to other pedal companies, but a lot of other pedal companies realize that to scale certain things, you just don't. You don't get it
out the door.
You don't make sure. You don't worry about the foot switch nut being perfectly flat. That's asinine, and I get that. But to me, I can't get past that because I see those things.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I notice all kinds of things, graphics on pedals behind a piece of hardware, things that aren't centered, just all kinds of things drive me crazy. So I don't know. That's definitely one of the ways that my particular brand of autism makes us different, I guess, is that my hyper focus or something
on awareness of things.
Hyper awareness of things that aren't like, I'll take an Albie, I'll put the pots in it 3 or 4 times to make sure that they're both perfectly straight. I don't know, just little things that I get from other companies that don't matter like that. And most people don't see. And honestly, there's psychology involved there too, because some people prefer things that aren't perfect. There's 60-40 or something. You know what I mean? When things are a little off center, it's actually pleasing. They can actually feel better to certain people. So am I actually is it a detriment to what our whole thing? Should I just let it ride? And but I can't. That's me.
And that's you being you.
Yeah. I'm just and so it's hard to get people to help you too. But recently, our friend Jesse Rue from Rude Tech here in Nashville, he's been helping out when I am backed up with orders. And that dude, his work is impeccable. I'm talking, it looks different than mine, but it also looks perfect.
Great.
It's
it's good to have somebody you can trust when there's all these things swirling in your head about it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And
Looks
he's actually been
thoughts about it too, Karen. Go ahead.
So I was just saying he's actually been working on our back patio which is open air, outside, because I've just still been really paranoid about having people in the house. We work from our house. So we set up a little soldering station outside, and I don't know, if I should even talk about that, how legal that is necessarily, but it's what we're doing, You don't know where we live, so don't call the cops. Oh man.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, just recently you were making a comment about where, a general comment about where we live, and then you said, "Oh no, we don't live there." And then I was like, "Oh no, we do. We do."
No, we live here. And you just start giving a false address.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. We actually had
the internet.
Someone
that freaked me out.
Said that they lived in the same neighborhood as us.
Yeah, a guy made a comment on a post on Facebook that he lived in the same neighborhood as us. And I was like, how do you know what neighborhood that we live in? Because that's a specific, if you said I live in Nashville, or I live in the same city as them, but to say neighborhood, that's a specific area. And that I was like, maybe he saw me going to get the mail in my sweatpants.
So great. Now I'm never going outside.
Yeah, exactly. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I appreciate you all. Well, kind of with all that being said, two things. I always like to leave people with. Always in the show notes, we're going to have all of our stuff. But where do you all like people to find and the first stop for everything Big Ear Pedals?
I would say bigearpedals.com.
Yeah,
That's
the website.
The website.
If you want to if you want to follow along to what we're doing, see these posts about autism or just general posts about guitar pedals and
or people singing all by myself
and
or
snare drums. I really like snare drums a lot. I try not to be like a lot. There's a lot of companies that I think are doing an incredible job with social media. And then there's a handful of companies that I think use it the way maybe old people would use it. And not like more like, oh, this is like thinking of it like this is the brand's page. So we just do the brand thing. Whereas I feel like our brand is that we are us and it is two people. So it's not uncommon for me to post something that has absolutely nothing to do with our pedals, but it has everything to do with something that I like. And so I think that's a reason to check out what we're doing. Cause it's not, like I said, it's not shoving our pedals down your throat. It might be other,
you said, did you know we sell a pedal?
Yeah. It might be it might be other companies' pedals.
And that is on Instagram. At Big Ear Pedals.
At Big Ear Pedals. I'm so bad at
pretty easy.
the rest of, and I know that's stupid because I mean, we have a TikTok and we have Facebook and we have, if you look up Big Ear Pedals, you'll find us on all those things. But Instagram is my usually everyday place where I feel the most comfortable. And that may change if you're listening to this in 5 years, but whatever is popping in 5 years at Big Ear Pedals or just Big Ear Pedals. So
that's good. Well, lastly, whether it's, like you said, encouraging someone else to go get a diagnosis, whether it's encouraging other musicians and all these different things that I think you all do, why do you all feel that it's important that people make more music?
Man.
So we can listen to more music.
Yeah.
That's a great starting. Yes.
It's the reason that we even do what we do anyway. Yeah. And we don't do anything without listening to music.
Yeah. Music is always playing.
It might be the same three bands all the time, but there's
usually
always
me first and the Gimme Gimmes.
It's usually me first and the Gimme Gimmes. Or one
all
of
they play is hits.
Yeah, the lead singer of that band has a couple other side projects that are also equally as fantastic. One is called Uke Hunt. He is it's his ukulele cover band.
Yeah.
And then he's in a band called Revolts, which is his original band, which I was unaware of that project until recently, I guess. But
it's good though.
There's a good ukulele website called Ucunt that's got like ukulele tabs and stuff like that.
Is there really?
Yeah.
Apparently
I do a lot of ukulele stuff.
So
for
apparently
music therapy stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Well, definitely check out the band Uke Hunt.
That sounds great.
And
that's good.
It's actually, apparently he literally started to learn how to play the ukulele because of coming up with that name. He's like, I'm going to make a band.
This is too good.
Because of this name. And so, but that's like, it reminds me of like back in the day, I was a, young skateboarder that listened to punk and played in punk bands and booked shows at the local fire hall. And like,
and it keeps us awake.
It keeps me awake. It's like fast driving music. It reminds me of my childhood. It reminds me of the good parts from my childhood. And now all these years later, Spike is the lead singer's name. He actually has several of our pedals and
so cool.
Uses them. And we watched their Christmas special, and the very first song he used Albie. And it was actually the first public performance that I'm aware of that pedal, because it was during the pandemic. Nobody was playing shows, but they did a private filmed Christmas special. And he used Albie in like literally the first 30 seconds of the performance. So it was,
wow,
really
that's
fun.
Special. Yeah, that is good.
So music, man, you got to make music.
Yeah. It's better for the world and their souls.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Well, thank you all for your time. I know you said you're trying to get to planting your garden.
We're going to do some gardening now. It's 10:06 p.m.
Perfect. We're going to go gardening time.
Yeah. Do it before that Nashville heat returns.
Yeah.
Yeah. the humidity comes. Yeah.
Well,
sure.
and especially in Nashville, and it might be this way in a lot of places, but maybe every town has this saying. But Jesse just the other day said, if you don't like the weather in Nashville, just wait 15 minutes. Because it
literally snowed yesterday in Kentucky, and it'll be 80 next week.
So, yeah, it's all over the damn place. So
what in the world? Well, I appreciate you all, and I thank y'all for your time. For Grant and Karen and Big Ear, we just want to say, give more grace, share more love, and make more music.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, if you enjoyed and want to learn more about the guests, their info is in the show notes, as well as how you can support the show. And the best way is to leave a rating and review and tell a friend. Anything else, if you want to make a donation, buy some merch, follow us on Instagram, get in touch with me. You can all do that through the links in the show notes. But until next time, give more grace, share more love, and make more music.